Hi everyone, Tori here today with a special bonus video for my December Daily 2016. Today is a Scrap Your Scraps video. So I have been collecting all of the papers and scraps and things from making my December Daily, and they are all here in a pile. There's branding strips and cut off pieces and pieces that have punching in them. Some of them are big pieces, like this one and that one, and then some of them are just like little pieces like this. So what I wanted to do today was to use some of these scraps in a December related project. So it's actually January 2nd today, so it's after Christmas, but I know that I love playing with scraps, so I wanted to play with those. Also, I learned some other important things about myself this year when I was doing my December Daily. Two things I learned. The first thing I learned is that no matter how hard I try to not buy December Daily supplies, I buy December Daily supplies. Because I love new supplies, I love December Daily, I just love the project so much that I seriously cannot help myself from buying new December Daily supplies. And every year, they're so pretty and there's more exciting things. So even though I have tons of December Daily stuff left over from this year and last year and the year before, I know next year I'm going to want to buy more supplies. So I wanted to do one more big project to get rid of a bunch of the supplies from this year so that next year when I start, I can buy new ones and not feel so guilty about it. So that's the first thing I learned. The second thing I learned is that I love giving Christmas cards, but because December is so busy, I don't have time to make Christmas cards. So I think what I'm going to do today is make some Christmas cards from my scraps from this year, plus a bunch of the embellishments and things, and journaling cards. Like, I have a lot of journaling cards. From this year, I'm going to make some cards from that, so that way I can use up a bunch of my supplies, use up a bunch of my journaling cards, use up a bunch of these scraps, actually get into these stamps, which I have failed to use that much this year, and make a bunch of Christmas cards. So it's after Christmas, but I'm kind of making them a year early so that next year when I want to give out Christmas cards, I'll have a whole set of them. So in today's video, that's what I'm going to work on. I'm going to grab my scraps, my journaling cards, my embellishments, my stack of stamps. I have a bunch of card bases. If this isn't enough, I can make more too. I have a bunch of just cardstock. And I'm just going to make some cards. So I wanted to just show you the stamps that I pulled out. These are all Christmas, winter related stamps, just so that you know what I'm using, and I'm gonna get to it. I probably am not gonna film the whole thing just because I'm gonna try to make as many cards as I possibly can with these scraps and as many cards as I possibly can with my journaling cards and card bases, and then when I come back I'll show you a close-up of all of those cards that I make. So I have some older stamps here, which are from Studio Calico. I'll show you those ones first. So I have this one, which just has this adorable polar bear and penguin. And this is from Studio Calico and In a Creative Bubble. It's an older one. I grabbed out this one by Katie Vajing, and I don't know how to say her last name, and Studio Calico. It's actually a birthday one, but it has this Let's Celebrate and some things that I thought would be kind of cute for some New Year's Eve or Happy New Year's cards, so I pulled those out. This one is more about work. This is also a Studio Calico stamp, but I thought that this mug and some of these things would be good for like hot cocoa or things like that. This stamp is by Studio Calico. It's a Christmas stamp. I think it was in December Daily kit 2 years ago. This one by Life, Love, and Paper for Studio Calico. It's got a snowman kind of stuff, some Christmas ornaments, and Christmas vibes things. This bear one, another Studio Calico, or Life, Love, Paper for Studio Calico. I don't order from Studio Calico anymore, but I have so many of their stamps, so I want to try to use them. This one is December Daily by Jasmine Jones, and this was, I think, last year's December Daily kit. Some more stamps. I believe these are Studio Calico with Hello Forever, 2 years ago. This one is Feed Your Crafts and Brandy Kincaid. It's a doodle from this year's December kit. And then I have 2 Felicity Jane stamps, and these were from the Felicity Jane Hello Christmas kit and the Felicity Jane Oh Dear November kit. So I have those stamps pulled out. I have my scraps, I have my card bases, stamps, ink, everything all around me. I'm going to get to creating. I'll be back a little while later and show you the cards that I made. I'm not necessarily going to make them all on screen just because I want to kind of make as many as I possibly can. So see you soon. Bye. Okay, so I've spent the day making cards, and I'm going to show those to you in just a minute. But just before I do that, I wanted to show you my scrap pile. I'm not sure if you can tell, but it is a lot smaller than it was before. Not to mention, my pack of journaling cards is smaller too. Again, it doesn't really look like it, but before it was all the way full, almost, and now I've cut that down significantly. So I am happy with that, and I am happy with the number of scraps I used as well. I only really have some pieces left here, and the truth is I probably can make a ton more cards, but I made a lot and I got kind of tired, so I didn't want to make any more. So I'm just gonna put these scraps into my Scrap Your Scraps bin, and they will pop out later. I did end up using a lot of my embellishments and sequins and Christmas items, wood veneers and things like that. As you can see, I made a ton of cards. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you them and just mention any little details if I can think of any. I did use my stamp set, so I'm glad that I used those. I still have tons of embellishments, but what I did was I went through my die cuts, I went through my stickers and labels and sequins and just kind of made each card unique. And I'm really happy with the way that they turned out. It was really fun to layer Project Life cards or journaling cards with papers, and to, like, this one has like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces of scrap paper and then a journaling card. And I even used some branding strips on some of them. Some of them are a little more simple than others, but on some of them I even added like a piece of colored cardstock on the inside just to use up a little bit more of those scraps. And I did have this cut apart sheet from, I think, a Chamel paper pad that I had a whole bunch of cut apart shapes from, and I ended up just using a bunch of those just to create like a focal point on my card. I used a little bit of ribbon too. And sometimes I layered more than one of those cut aparts together. So this was one back there and then another one on top, and I just trimmed it down and then stuck some scrap paper behind it. I did end up cutting more card bases. I just had Nina White cardstock and I just cut it down to 5.5, I think, by 4 1/4 basically size. And then just kind of layered things. And you can see there's a couple branding strips back there. There's one of those cut aparts. There's a die cut, a couple stamps from my stash. I did end up using some of that glitter paper too, just because I thought it looked really pretty. And there's one of those stamps too. Some of them I stamped on the inside, and then some of them I didn't. But I love the way that they worked out. I even had some like layered embellishment pieces that I had made to use in my December Daily, but never ended up using them, and then they got stuck right on a card. It was actually a lot of fun using the pre-made journaling cards. even some of my printables on the cards, just because they already have a focal point, and basically all you need to do is mat it or add some paper, and it just looks super cute. On this one I used some cork that I had in my stash that I've been hoarding for a couple years here, and just stuck it on there, and it looks so cute with this little snowman from the Snow and Cocoa collection. I even used some wood veneers that I've had in my stash for a while. And again, they're not super traditional. Like, I didn't go with just red and green. I went with like blacks and pinks and blues and mints and things like that, just because that's what I really enjoy. And then this was one of the journaling cards that I had made for last year's December Daily but never got to use. I just hand stitched that deer last year, so I just had it there, so I was like, why not stick it on a card? And it's like a really cute detail. This one has so many scrap pieces of paper, it's actually kind of thick. So I didn't necessarily worry about keeping the cards too flat or too light or anything like that. I don't really care about that. Most of these cards, or most of my Christmas cards, actually get handed out like by hand versus by postals, so it works out well. I did create a couple of cards using some of my punches. So on this one I used a scallop punch. There's a couple where I use punches, so you'll see those as well. Some of them are a little more whimsical. Hey, this one's really fun. This hello card was just like a thank you card that came in one of my Felicity Jean kits, and on the back it has like a note and stuff, so I just kind of stuck it on there, stamped Christmas, and this one's super simple, but I think it's one of my favorites. Okay, I'm gonna admit that on some of the cards I probably went a little too far, but that's okay. So I just had a lot of fun. I just stuck some Christmas music on and like stuck paper down first and journaling cards, and then I went back and added the embellishments and the enamel dots and even the stamping too. So like this one I added white on the inside so you could have somewhere to write, but also did my sentiment. And some of them are a little more simple than others, and then some of them are like obviously more whimsical. Typically the ones where I use the Snow and Cocoa collection, like this one, or where I used the more cutesy embellishments, then it tended to be a little more cutesy. But then on some of them I think they're a little more classy. Look at all those branding strips I used there. It's a great way to use up your scrap paper, and you don't have to feel like you have to put 10 pieces of scrap paper on one card either. Like on this one I literally just have one piece of scrap paper and then a die cut, and I love it. I did ink the edges of some of them, but not all of them. Again, another scrap of paper which I just cut diagonally, a branding strip, a stamp, and a die cut, and boom, it's done. Some of them I rounded the corners just to add a little detail. And this one's really cute. It's like 3 branding strips, a cut apart, another die cut, a couple die cuts, and a button. Done is done. Love this one. Christmas time. Merry Christmas. And then there's another one where I had some stitching on a card and I just stuck the card right on there. On this one I added a little bit of vellum, so I had that in my scrap pile and it looks really cute on there, I think. Oh, and I did want to mention I did use my Zig Wink of Stella brush just to add a little bit of glimmer to some of the cards as well, so hopefully you guys can see that. I just feel like it was like the perfect finishing touch. Oh, here's another one. Here's a couple more where I use my punches. I use an octagon punch. And this one's like just super simple. It's just blank, but has like Christmas papers on it. And I figure sometimes it's nice to have some blank cards where there's not really a sentiment, so you could write whatever you wanted. This one just says Merry, Merry, Merry. I like this one. Oh dear, do you believe? That's cute. So I used some of my Freckled Fun word strips and phrases too. And look at this guy. This Santa Claus was a tag from a Christmas present that I had pulled off. And I just think he looks so cute on this card. And that card has like this piece of scrap paper plus a bunch of branding strips, a tag framed with another scrap piece of paper, and then a scrap die cut dude from a present. So I feel like this is the ultimate scrap your scraps card. Some wonky branding strips and a die cut. I love them. Some of them I kept the color scheme a little simpler, like black, white, and red. And then some of them I went with more colors. I love the way that this one turned out. It ended up having actually a different design on there, but then I pulled out this Christmas tree and I was like, I really want to use that. So I ended up covering up the sentiment that was there to stick that tree on, and I'm so glad I did because I think it looks really cute with that pink. Honestly, I think these cards would be so easy to replicate just because it's basically just a bunch of rectangles and squares and some circles and some punch shapes, but mostly just rectangles and squares stuck and overlapped on top of each other, and shapes and journaling cards just layered on top. If you guys have any questions, let me know. You can leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear from you guys. How about you? I'm wondering, has anybody ever created Christmas cards like right after Christmas is over with their scraps? If you have, I'd love to see them. I'm going to have some detailed shots of just some of my favorite cards. Probably not all of the cards, but I'll have some detailed shots of some of my favorite cards over on my blog, toribissell.com. So if you want to go head over there to check out those detailed shots, I would really appreciate it. Don't forget to subscribe, comment, and like. Let me know if you have any questions. And by the way, I always forget to mention this, but I do have a Scrap Your Scraps Facebook group where we all share projects that we create with our scraps of papers and scrap projects and things like that. So if you would like to join us, there's a link to my Facebook group in the description of this video. So head on over and ask to join, and I'll make sure you get approved, and I can't wait to see the projects that you create with your scraps too. Hope you have a lovely day.